Hey, I'm Matt Spencer, and welcome to PowerBoat Television. This week on the show, we're diving into the world of tunnel boat races as we check out the Trenton Roar on the River. Located just a hop, skip, and a jump across the Windsor border, Trenton sits on the western shore of the Detroit River. Rotary Park, home of the Roar on the River, would soon prove to be a great spot to host a racing event. Over the weekend, we would experience all forms of powerboat racing, from kneel-down runabouts, to the exciting Formula Light SST 45 tunnels, to the thrilling Formula 2 class. And by the end, I would even get to take a few hot laps in a real race boat. We arrived Friday for the weekend-long event, along with a steady stream of drivers and their boats, all setting up shop for the weekend. We took this chance to catch up with Tammy Wolf, a transplanted Canadian racer now living in Illinois and the newest member of the Mercury Racing team. Tammy has built a name for herself, not only as the face for tunnel boat racing, but also as a fierce competitor.
This here is Mercury Canada's Formula 2 race boat. It's actually a Pew tunnel boat. It's 16 feet long with our wonderful Mercury Optimax 200 XS SST engine. Well, I've been racing 18 years. Last year was one of my first opportunities to represent Mercury. We went at the 24 hours in Rouen, France. The team and I got 4th place. After our success there, I was very, very honored to represent Mercury now in the United States and Canada. The most incredible thing is we're not just racing Formula 2. These engines are so specialized that there is a very, very specific rule that gets me to be able to race in Formula 1. When you see us out in the water, you think this is an overly excessively expensive sport, but it's not. I'm a dental hygienist by trade, and I can afford this. Thank you to my sponsors, Mercury, they're incredible, but any family person can do that. And you see this going around the pits, you see that, you know, the son's racing or the daughter's racing and mom and dad's crewing and mom's doing the marketing and the PR work behind and dad's the mechanic. It's a huge family event.
As the day went on, we partook in the popular Taste of the Races. Restaurants from all over the area brought samples of their signature foods, and for one admission price, you got to try it all. On top of that, with a pirate theme for the night, the swashbucklers took over the park grounds. The following day, the scene was similar to the one before it, with spots in the park transformed into mobile garages. It was clear this was a sport that bridged generations as families wrenched side by side. The day's racing began with the Formula Light SST 45s. The starting order was determined by each boat going individually, gunning for the fastest lap. With the starting order set, it was time to race. Don't let the size of these boats or their engines fool you. They bring big-time excitement. It was incredible to watch the boats duck and weave in between each other, competing for top spot. Men, women, and teenagers were all battling side by side for 20 exciting laps of tunnel boat racing. This was only the first of 4 heats, so the action was just getting started. And if the Formula Lights were this exciting, you can only imagine how thrilling the big boats will be. Later in the show, we'll have more from the Roar on the River. Something that a lot of people don't know about tunnel boat racing is that it's actually accessible and great for families. And the best way to start is to go to a driver's school. So that's what I did. Before you can take the course and get into a live race boat, you must first get capsule certified. Since you are strapped into a small pod in the race boat, the APBA wants to make sure you can safely evacuate should the worst happen. This was done at the local Comfort Inn in a controlled setting with divers present to supervise the underwater escape. First up in the morning was a driver from New Jersey named Milo, who was getting recertified. He was calmly strapped into the pod which was reassuring since my nerves were a little tense leading up to my turn. You need 2 successful attempts in order to pass, which Milo easily completed. That meant it was my turn to suit up and take the plunge. After getting strapped in, we first went through a dry run to make sure I had the order of the motions correct. After one last pep talk, it was go time. With 1 successful attempt under my belt, I got back in and went for my second. For me, the biggest hurdle proved to be remembering to breathe through the regulator underwater. After that, it was just a matter of remembering the proper steps. That being my second successful attempt, I was now capsule certified. We dried off, got dressed, and were headed to the park, where we met up with Tammy, who took us through the race boat. Tammy thoroughly went over the controls inside the boat and gave me the chance to try everything out. The only thing left to do was put the boat in the water and take it for a spin. To say I wasn't nervous as I idled out to the course would be a lie. Even though I've driven hundreds of boats, this was still a new experience. The only thing I could do though was put the pedal down and go. I took it easy on the first couple laps, and it looked quite slow from shore, but from inside the boat it felt like I was flying. But with each lap, I was able to push the limits more and more until eventually, I had a pretty good feel for it. It was an incredible experience that I would recommend to anyone. But it was time to get back to the racing, and it was time for the big dogs, the Formula 2 boats, to take the stage. They lined up the same way the SST-45s did, only with a little more of a buzz in the air. And when these boats took off, it made your skin tingle. The boats turned on a dime as they rounded the first buoy, and really opened up as they hit the first stretch. During this race, it was clear to see where the roar on the river gets its name. It was easy to marvel at the drivers as they rode these boats at over 120 miles per hour, right on the edge, with other boats around them. Over the course of the 20-lap race, Tammy managed to hold strong and pull out a solid 5th spot in the first heat. She'd go on to win the next heat and take 2nd overall for the weekend. A 2nd place finish in the World Championships. Not bad at all. As things come to an end here on the Roar of the River, this is where we're going to leave off, but I must say, what an awesome weekend. It's great to see a Canadian like Tammy Wolf really putting herself on the map in tunnel boat racing. And now, after going through the driver's school, I highly recommend it. It's a great hobby that anyone can get involved with. As Steve McQueen says, life is racing. Everything else is just standing still.